Good morning, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. It's Tuesday, August 21st. Welcome to the Cottington County Weekly Board of Commissioners meeting. We'll begin the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. And Luke, you want to lead us this morning, the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
See, that's the most exciting part of this meeting is who I'm going to ask to lead the pledge. Everybody sits on edge, you know. That being done, a couple of housekeeping chores. If you have a phone, please silence it or turn it off. If you do get a call that you need to take, please step out into the rotunda area so you don't bother those that are speaking. And speaking of that, if you do wish to address the board, this meeting is being streamed live, and so you will be streamed. Just a heads up so that you know that. And at this time, I would ask if there's anyone in the audience today that wishes to address the board that is not on the agenda. If you wish to address the board about any issue and you're not listed on the agenda, we would like to know so we can, give you ample time. And I see none. So that being said,
I'll make a motion to approve
we have a motion by Brenda
Second.
Hatton to approve the agenda and a second by Commissioner Van Dusen. Any discussion? Any discussion? Harry Satterley has requested an exec session, so it's already on the agenda, but I'll just make you aware of that. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Minutes of
Move
the
to approve
August 14th
as
meeting.
emailed.
Second that.
I have a motion by Hatton, a second by Van Dusen. Any
Gable?
discussion?
Gable.
Okay.
Oh, Gable?
Yep.
All right,
All
I'm
right.
sorry. Any discussion? The motion was by Hatton, the second was by Gable. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
We're going to jump right into the monthly reports. Milo.
No. Number four.
Oh, I suppose we should do number 4, shouldn't
Yep.
we?
Jay needs to get going.
Yeah, Jay wants to get on the road. He's got a date, I guess. Action to approve the riparian buffer strip resolution. So, Jay, you want to come on up?
Roger.
You want to come on up? We get all the people involved here.
Just ask that you talk into the microphone.
And please introduce yourself so the press will know who's talking, and that always works the best. Good morning, Roger and Jay. Good to have you here.
Good morning. Jay Gilbertson with the East Dakota Water Development District out of Brookings. 2 weeks ago, we had an initial discussion about the commissioners adopting a resolution that would identify additional water bodies in Cottington County that, if the landowners along those water bodies were willing to enroll land or practice certain land use procedures, that they would qualify or could qualify for a reduction in their tax rate. Under existing state law, if you're willing to do certain things in what's called a riparian area along an identified, state-identified water body, you can qualify for a tax reduction. The legislature earlier this year created a situation whereby additional water bodies, in this case within Cottington County, could also qualify, although the landowners, again, would still have to do all those same sorts of things. At the time, I presented to the commissioners a draft resolution that contained verbiage we think is acceptable, or hopefully acceptable, and then the description of, then I think it was 5 water bodies that had been suggested by Mr. Foote with the Upper Big Sioux Watershed Project. The version in front of you today contains a 6th water body. It's a suggestion, county folks. The additional water body is the remainder of Stray Horse Creek. At present, the rivers and streams in Cottington County that are on the state list are the Big Sioux River from the Grant County line down to the Hamlin County line, Willow Creek from its confluence with the Big Sioux just south of Menards up to the Dual County line, and then a 1 mile segment of Straight Horse Creek way over there south of Kranzberg. And so what the addition did, the sixth listing here, simply extends Straight Horse Creek from the end of that point up and around to the Dual County line. So we've got the whole thing involved there. The other changes that were made over what you saw in some instances, I've added a reference to the actual township in which the starter endpoint exists. I'm currently working with the Grant County Commissioners. They're about 2 weeks behind you guys right now. They're going to have that conversation later today. But I was reminded in that conversation that due to the differences in the legal land surveys inside and outside of the former Sisseton-Wappner Reservation, it is possible to have the same legal description, township, range, and section for two parcels of land that are not in the same place. And so we've added that reference to the township just for clarity, for the sake of clarity. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'm done explaining and would be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Any questions for Jay right now?
I'd make a motion that we approve this resolution. Just get it
Roger,
on
any
the-
input first?
I agree with Jay.
And I would second Brenda's motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hatton to approve the resolution and a second by Commissioner Waterman. Now we'll open it up for discussion. And I'll call on Shauna. Are you concur with this? You on the same page, caught up to speed? Yep. All right.
This
And,
is something that we needed to do as a county in order for our landowners to be able to take advantage of some of these opportunities, so.
Just one of those legal steps. And when you mentioned about having the same legal description inside the reservation, outside the reservation, Luke is probably the expert on that. He gets to deal with that often, every day. Nothing, Roger, that you want to add?
No, I think everything.
By not adding anything, I'll add something that, yes, my name's Roger Foote, Upper Big Sioux River Watershed Project. Everything that we've asked for in this resolution has been covered. Thank you, Jay, for putting the official look and verbiage to it. That was beyond my capacity. And yeah, we're very happy with how this has worked out.
Yep. And I appreciate all the work that everyone has done with this. My only question is what resolution number are we going to put on this puppy?
I will have to look and see what the last one was. My question is, do we have to send this to the Department of Revenue, or is it just for our purposes? Just for our county. Okay, all right.
Does anybody have any little anecdotes they want to put on the resolution, like, here's your chance, because we haven't named it yet, so.
So the sixth one that was added was the Stray Horse Creek, is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
Straight Horse Creek, yeah. As I said, on the state's list, they include Straight Horse Creek, the bulk of which is in Hamlin County to the south, but their segment does extend just a very small distance up into Cottington
Okay.
County. And we thought, well, let's just continue it all the way up into the Dual County line, and that would be what happened the first year. People would come in. I live along 6 Mile Creek in Brookings County. I'd like to enroll in the program, only to find out that they weren't on the right part of 6 Mile Creek. They were on the upstream end and opposed to the downstream. So this basically takes care of that issue with Stray Horse.
I think the good news here is that Grant County is doing the same thing as well. They're a couple weeks behind, but let's hope, like I said originally, that it's a domino effect, that Grant County, Cottington County, right on down the Sioux River, that this occurs. And everybody's going to reap benefits from it. And we certainly hope that our producers out there will take a good, hard look at this and understand that this is all for their good. We're just trying to help them be better conservationists is what we're trying to do.
Right.
So
Lee?
question on lakes. Commissioner Hatt and I had a
bit of a discussion about
Punish
Women's
Women Lake, I
Yeah,
think,
Punish
right?
Women's Lake.
Yeah,
So that's covered by in the state part of the provision, correct? Is that how that? Is it because it's a lake? I just didn't hear Jay mention it, so wanted to make sure.
Grab my
I probably
reference
should have
sheet.
done my homework.
Yeah, the state's list of water bodies includes both rivers and streams and lakes. And we've been talking really about the eligible streams in Cottington County. The lake list for Cottington County, Lake Kampesca, Dry Lake, Grass Lake, Pelican, Punish Woman, and Round.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
And then also the Kampesca Trout Pond and Bramble Pond.
I didn't
You've
remember,
got
yeah.
pretty hard to
I did
find
look at
Yeah.
that now, yeah.
But
that
yeah,
refreshes my memory. Thank
those
you.
lakes are there. Now, if at some point another water body, Medicine Lake, there was interest or whatever, then you could
Add
add
it on.
that at some later point. And I think we mentioned a couple weeks back, ideally, this might be something the commissioners would only take up once a year. You know, change the list today for the next, 6, 8, 12 months. Roger and the crew are out there trying to recruit folks to get involved. If they identify a water body that's not on the list where there's some interest, come back a year from now and revisit that and make the adjustments. Our goal in putting in part of this was to hopefully avoid making this a standing item on your agenda every week. Well, it's not going to happen.
Okay, any more discussion? Any more questions? You've got them here. Now's the time. Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
See if we get
for your work on that,
county
guys.
straightened out now. Huh?
All right.
Could we skip to number 6 quick?
All right, we're going to, with the request from Cindy, we're going to jump to number 6, introduction of the community health nurse, Melissa. Melissa, would you come up and introduce yourself and help me with your name? C-O-U, cool? That's right. You're just really a cool gal, right? There you go. Good morning, Ann.
Grab the mic.
This is Melissa. She's the new.
Who are you?
I'm Ann Creasy. I am the community health nurse, but I put in my resignation as of yesterday, so I'll be done October 30th
Holy cow.
or August 30th. So
That's coming up.
yeah, early retirement. Don't got anything planned right now. So Melissa is out of Brookings. She's worked for community health in Brookings and also Department of Health. So I'll let her tell you about herself.
So, hello. Yep,
Hi.
my name is Melissa Cole. I am the other nurse in the office. I'll be your point person until the time that Ann's position is filled. More information on timelines and such to come in the future on that. As Ann said, I worked in the community health office in Brookings for about 4 years. And then I did public health programming for the Department of Health's Diabetes Prevention and Control Program. So I've been with the Department of Health a little over 7 years. And I'm happy to be back in community health. It's definitely my passion. Ann's been very good to me as I've been transitioning back into the role. I've been on staff for about 2 months here in Watertown. And this was a good opportunity to get some face-to-face time with all of you and introduce myself.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And welcome aboard.
What do you think of the office?
I love the office.
Good.
We are very blessed with that office.
Good.
Seems like our employees just get younger every year. I don't know what the deal is. I can't understand that. And here we are. If you have any questions, anytime, be sure and get to Cindy. But welcome aboard, as I said, and look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
And good luck, Ann, in your endeavors. So you're going to actually retire?
For right now, I don't have anything planned, so
It's wild. It'll be well before ice fishing season starts, so.
I know.
December 1st it starts
we
this
haven't had
year.
our boat out only once this year, so
You better get it out.
yeah.
Yeah, better get it going. All right, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, Melissa.
Now we'll go back to number 5 and get some department reports. We'll start out with Milo. Milo, what's here? Oh, here he is. How could you possibly hide, Milo? Good morning, Milo.
Good morning.
Morning, Milo.
Okay, I'll hit the ground running here. We'll start out with Memorial Park. Things are going very well at the park. Just a ballpark estimate, I would say that revenue is up close to 10% for the year. We'll see if this trend continues as the camping season winds down, but it's, that's my prediction at this point. So it's very good. The new roof has been completed on the Lakeside Chapel. The new windows have been installed in that same building also. This will give us many more years of renewed service for that building. Excuse me. Compesca Hall has been repainted, which is going to make it look a lot better. We are investigating seeing what's going to take to reside that building, which will be a project that will come up probably in 2 years, I'm thinking. We are looking into the possibility of doing some plumbing upgrades there. We just want to see if the sewer service is viable to support additional plumbing there. Our plan is we'd like to add a bathroom into that building just to be accessible for the people that use that. And once again, that's something that we're looking at hopefully for next year. Overall, it's been very good season. Most of our problem issues have been of the nature that we can handle them ourselves. I hate to jinx it by saying that in a public setting, but we'll hope that continues for the balance of the year. Ag building complex. Oh, I should mention, back to Memorial Park, we do have the contract in place with Watertown Community Foundation for collecting funds for our memorial tree project out there. The brochure is in the works of being printed, so I hope to hit the ground, get that up and running within the next 2 to 3 weeks. So I'll keep you posted on that as we progress. Ag building complex, the repairs have been completed on the south end of the livestock building where damage was done during the farm safety camp. The roofing project has been completed and the final insurance payment has been received for this project. Just a reminder to the board, there were approximately $90,000 worth of improvements that were added at the time of the new roofing, which primarily was adding insulation to the entire building. That was something that was voted on by the board, not included in the budget or included in the insurance coverage. We have delayed some of our 2018 projects that were planned and tighten up the belt a little bit to cover as much of that expense as we possibly can. Courthouse. This building has caused my bald spot to grow exponentially this summer. The last month has been a series of highs and lows with phase 1 coming to a conclusion actually this week. As of yesterday, the clerk of courts has moved into their new location on ground floor, room number 3. This has been an on-again, off-again moving date. Due to technical difficulties, it was delayed a week, causing some pain and heartache in other areas of the schedule. It looks like we're back on track again, and we will be attempting to move the equalization office on Monday and Tuesday of next week. Lots of moving parts that need to work together and the things that have to happen to accomplish that. So we're just keeping our fingers crossed and hoping we can stick to that.
Milo, remind me, what are we going to have to do to that existing clerk of court's office before they move in? Carpet?
Carpet, painting, we're tearing out the existing glass partition, removing the counter that was in there. We're doing a lot of patching. The existing desks that were in there have been purchased by Cottington County, and that was a modular unit, that needs to be disassembled, and then will be reassembled to fit the needs of the equalization staff, as they move in. So
Okay, good. Thank you.
that's kind of the bulk of it.
Yep.
Lot to do. And can I just piggyback on, so the walkthrough is this Friday at 11, so that's the formal handoff of the new space to the county, so.
Okay. The new water service has been installed into the building. That would be the new 6-inch water line that was running into the building from Maple that will service the new sprinkler system of the building, as well as the domestic water use. Most of the planned fire protection system has been installed, except for the areas that are coming up in phase 2 of the remodel process. Now, once again, this would be the basement and ground floor only is the first phase of that particular system. So they have a very good chunk of that completed now. Car tuck pointing does have us on their schedule for this fall. This is the project for building preservation that was bid last year. It's really up to the weather to cooperate to get this job completed this year. Good news for us is it was a bid project and the price remains the same, even though could possibly be 2 years out from the actual bid. If for some reason this project isn't completed in 2018, correct me if I'm wrong, Cindy, but those funds that were budgeted for that item would just go back into the general.
Correct.
Into the general fund, and in 2019 it would take a draw on the commissioner's contingency to actually pay for that project.
Milo, how long do they anticipate that project taking once they start?
I can't answer that for sure. I think we were talking 30 to 45 days, as I recall.
Okay. That's not bad.
Kind of sounds right.
Detention center. The AC situation has improved over there. It has not been solved. I guess I'll just leave it at that. It's better than it was, but it's not good yet. We are working with a HVAC contractor, and we're waiting for some cooler weather to take the next step. The next step is going to involve possibly replacing some components and actually shutting the entire system down for, maybe a matter of 24 hours. So we kind of need to play the weather game. We have to do it when it's not too hot and not too cold and not too wet and not too dry, and that could be another situation that causes my bald spot to expand a little. Counts have been steadily increasing over there, causing more maintenance issues to arise. Once again, most of these issues have been handled in-house so far. There go, kind of jinxing myself again, but that's what I have for you this month. Any questions while you have me front and center?
I did have a comment from one of the local residents. He said he thinks we should cut all the trees down in front of the courthouse because it's so beautiful. We're blocking the view. And I said, it ain't going to happen. So
Thank you.
I run interference for you. I said, we're just so happy to have some trees to look at, But at least people notice, and then I told them about getting the courthouse, all cleaned up and looking good for the 90th celebration next year. And that's what I'd like to see, if we get a lot of this stuff done, so when we have our ribbon cutting for the 90th birthday party, it is in pristine shape. That's my request, Milo.
Milo, just to piggyback on what you were talking about the air conditioning system at the jail, what is the issue over there? And what are we looking at for a fix for that so that it's a done deal?
It's been kind of a hard one to pin down. I think what we're looking at, we have a coil, that's located in the ductwork that is nearly impossible to get to clean. we can do a percentage of it, and what we're looking at is probably removing that coil completely and then making a determination. I think what we're looking at is replacing the actual coil and pulling the old one out and steam cleaning it, and having it on hand, so, maybe we can make that a planned maintenance issue in the future, is to rotate them back and forth.
So, and does that mean that the ductwork would have to come down to get to that coil?
No.
No.
No, that's something that we can accomplish, without destroying much of anything, really.
How long is that original coil? How long has that coil been in there since it's been serviced?
No, actually, that coil was replaced in approximately 2007,
Is that
2008, maybe. That was part of the whole
the design
remodel.
bill?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, when you did it.
And actually, there was a coil in there previous to that also.
And that's a pretty costly item to take care of?
I would suspect we're going to be in the neighborhood of $7,000 to $8,000
Okay.
versus, and we looked into the rest of the air handler unit itself, goes back, would actually be original equipment, so the air handler unit is approaching, 35, 40 years old, whatever it is. We looked into the possibility, would we be better off to update the whole thing, replace that whole unit, and with the cost involved with that, it didn't seem to make sense.
Question, Mr. Chairman. So, well, I know you've had Johnson Controls in and out, trying to help with that coil, but so does the Facility Dude software, does that kind of help predict this? I mean, does that give any indication whether?
No, not necessarily. That would track, what we've done for upkeep on that particular unit, but it's.
Yeah, stuff still happens,
And quite possibly, a lot of the problem over here could be capacity-related issues. When this was first designed, things have changed a lot.
Yeah.
Just with the addition of more people, the addition of more computers, producing heat, in the control room, that type of thing.
What is the cost of replacing that unit?
Probably
In its entirety?
In its entirety, I don't remember the exact figure, but it was 40,000 plus.
Any other questions for Milo?
Yeah.
The only addition that I would put in, Milo can make certain that I don't say something out of school here, but I did talk to Jim Sutton during the week in reference to the fuel tank and backup generator, and it's not fixed yet. Jim, it does run. He has the backup fuel there, and so if something would happen, there's plenty of fuel on hand right there to keep it running, but they're waiting for parts. The parts have been back ordered or they're backed up, or that's my understanding, and he said he'd let us know as soon as things started rolling again.
Basically what would happen at this point, if we had a power failure for any length of time at all, we have to monitor the fuel level on what's available actually inside that shed. We have two 10-gallon fuel barrels, that would have to be intermittently changed. For an hour or two power outage, it's not a significant event, put it that way. If it were to be a week-long power outage, this is something that has to be monitored, probably
We have settings for
Twice
the
a
truck
day.
out here. When
well, it
it's-
wouldn't be that bad. But it's just
Anyways.
a matter of transferring a fuel pump from one barrel to the next,
Yep.
Refilling the empty fuel barrel,
It's being addressed. Just thought I'd bring everybody up to speed on what's happening there. Okay, anything else, Milo?
Yeah, just one question, Milo. You said 40,000 to replace the unit on the jail. What did we, and not going from stone, but what did we spend for the extension center furnaces?
Oh,
And they included air conditioners too, right?
yeah. You know, and that's a completely different animal there. That was, you know, more of a residential style furnace that you would have in your home.
I'm just thinking building
You
to
know, but
building,
it
that's
was-
all.
Who did we pay, Milo,
That would have been Hartwig Heating,
this year?
and that was, part of it was paid this year and part of it last year. So I'm thinking it was in the 20,000 range. I know the air conditioning portion of it that was paid this year was 5,000 and change.
16,150 we paid in November of 2017 to Hartwick.
Okay, so about 21,000.
Furnace and
Okay, that's
ductwork.
what my memory was. I just wanted it refreshed. That's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
To tag along with that, I spent a fair amount of time out there during the Achievement Days, just a week or so ago, and boy, it was appreciated to have that. We call it the echo chamber, air conditioned now. In fact, they during the day prior, they kept everything closed up and cooled her down to almost where you could hang meat in there. And then the next day, when we were working and actually taking entries, the next day in the second building, I don't know what you refer to that, building 2 or whatever, they just opened up the doors and actually it was bearable. It
North
just,
Expo.
it was not bad at all.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think if you're out there for the 4-H barbecue, it was pretty decent. It made a difference.
Yeah.
Now the question is when are you going to do the next one?
Well, FYI,
Yeah.
that was kind of in the works for this year, but that would be one of the projects that is getting delayed because of,
Yeah.
you know, the expenditure that we put on the roof. You know, so actually, we're looking into that, and I'll have some, at some point in the near future, I'll have some figures coming forward for one of the expo buildings to do the same thing, you know, which will now become a project for next year, should we decide
Which may
to.
even be delayed if we have to replace a system at the jail.
Well, just don't steal any money from Luke's plush office out there.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right, thank you, Milo. Have a good week.
Thanks, Milo.
All right, I'm going to take a jump here. I'm going to go to weed supervisor. Steve, that way you can get back to work because the next one is probably going to take a little longer and we can tie 2 or 3 together in the next one. So, Steve, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Steve.
See, you only have 1 page of notes. So.
Good morning to y'all. Well, it's kind of on the low side for wheat spraying, for this time of the year. Even though that we are going to start working on the mediums this week on the state roads. I had talked to the DOT. They will probably start mowing them in about 2 to 3 weeks. So we want to get started on working on them first. There's a few right-of-ways that haven't been hayed yet, so we kind of got to back off a little bit on them till after the 1st of September. But as far as that's more or less for the weed spray, oops, I think I touched something.
It's something I think.
That's mine.
Sorry.
That's over here, Cindy.
I need.
There you go. I was just moving it out of the road to grab my phone. Stop play.
She'll yell at you.
You're trying to erase what you said.
All right, to get back here on track. But been doing a little bit of spot checking as we had in the county. Had a couple little weed issues. Otherwise, most part, it don't look too bad. There's, we always have a few, and there's always going to be a few and stuff. But actually, I think it looks a lot better than it has in the last few years out there. What we've noticed, and so we take the data logger, we take the tablet along, and we actually take pictures and locate these spots. And so far, we've had a lot less picture taken compared to what we've had last year. So that's hopefully on the plus side. As far as coming up, I am planning on working at the State Fair weed booth on Friday the 31st. If anybody is down there at that time, they can come stop by. I do know that Paul Johnson is looking at having wormwood sage plant there and trying to do a poll, because that one there is looking at putting on the state noxious list, which that leads into the Weed Commission meeting and tour on September 11th and 12th. I believe you guys have a conference out there, I believe, at that time. If you guys do want to stop out at the Foss building for that meeting, it will be at 1 o'clock, and they will have the first rulings on wormwood sage for going as a state noxious weed. So from that point, I guess weed board meeting next week, Monday evening at 6:30. I will do some burgers and brats. I do need to know how many will be attending, so I know how many to get. So that would be appreciated.
Is it 6 o'clock?
6:30.
Oh, 6:30, that's
Monday the 27th.
Where will that meeting in Pier be, the state meeting?
It will be at the Foss building.
At the Foss?
Yep, in the conference area. Or, I can't. I have to look it up to find out exactly. But it'd be right in the first floor. As you walk into the building, it'd be right to the left.
Yep.
And stuff. So. And then at the weed board meeting, Brenda Sievers will be attending, and she will talk about pollinators and right-of-ways. That's the main topic, what she'll be there on. So the other thing that we've been doing, of course, is mosquito trapping and fogging. Numbers in the communities have been up a little bit, but they're not really extremely high. I noticed that some of Watertown spots get up there pretty good. And of course, it's nothing compared to like what I've looked up down in T and Lincoln County and Brown County. Astronomical numbers have been really, really high. As far as the report from the Department of Health, last week, Wednesday, there's 41 human cases in the state so far. Connington County is finally put on the list of one. In fact, I know the person that has the West Nile was admitted in the Sioux Falls Hospital for quite a period of time. So that probably pretty well wraps things up for my things. Any questions?
All right, anything for Steve?
That meeting that you were talking about at Pier, is that on the 11th or 12th?
That's on the 11th at
Okay.
1 o'clock.
All right, then we're good.
Tour is on the 12th.
Okay.
If somebody wants to go along on a tour too, they may just have to let Department of Ag know, and they'll have a bus, so they have to go with the tour. And there's going to be several stops. One of the stops they're talking about doing for a sightseeing, and that would be the Hawaii Dam and so that. So.
For a period of time, I sat on the state weed board, and it was always interesting. Everybody had weed problems, but they were the cause of the county beside them.
That is one of the issues that they are going to go look at.
All right, thank you, Steve.
All right.
Back
Thanks,
doors.
Steve.
All right, now let's go to Rick, Highway Soup. Rick didn't bail out on us, oh, he's still here. Morning, Rick. You want to start out with your report first, and then we'll take a jump down to number 8. Is that all right, Luke?
Sure.
All right.
All right, well, our chip sealing was completed at the end of July. We've started brooming the excess P-rock and stuff off now, getting ready for striping. We got the rumble strips put in on County Road 6, and I added another set south of town on County Road 20-3, where it comes up to County Road 11-5.
that the dump road?
No,
Oh,
no. This is the road that we regraded 2 years ago.
okay, all
We
right.
put a mat on it, and it was always gravel, so traffic wasn't as fast. There was a hill there and stuff, but there was always a stop sign, but now that it's nice and smooth, they have a little more speed. And so we added a set of rumble strips to that yesterday also. And we were up on County Road 6 doing a little shoulder work on that new mat. Try and get that all shaped up, and it's all painted and everything. We're also working on spots that were related from the wet snow we had this spring. We disked and plowed, and now we're trying to cover them up with gravel. We still have a few to go. The rain the other day that we needed set us back a little bit on that, but other than that, I'm just waiting for my asbestos report on the building that we're going to tear down, and I still have another week to wait because I had to fill out a permit from the state to wait. There's a waiting period before I can tear it down, so hopefully next week all that will come in and we can start getting that tore down and new site for the building prepped. That should be about it.
Okay, any questions on his report? All right, let's go ahead and jump right on down to 8, action to approve a haul road agreement for wind energy project. And Becky is here as well. Rick, why don't you go ahead and start it off? Becky, you want to come on up? She had a chance to review it, and I just got it this morning, so I really haven't had a chance to look at it too
Okay.
much.
I also have Mark Junker.
Mark is here as well.
From Banner and Associates, so,
Oh, Mark. We got 2 Marks here. Mark and Mark.
yeah, he's the author of the haul road agreement for Banner. So, if we have questions, we can talk to him also, so.
And Becky, you've had a chance to review it very shortly, very briefly.
Correct. It came in yesterday afternoon while I was under injury, so it was about 4 o'clock.
She needs the mic.
Till I could get to it. I looked at it last night quickly. I've got some concerns in my look. I mean, the spirit of the Banner agreement is contained in some areas, but there's some areas of the Banner suggestions that I was not able to find in the agreement last night when I was looking at it. So, and I guess specifically the areas that I'm concerned I wasn't finding was inspection after construction and the restoration of the haul roads after construction. There's other portions of Banner suggestions that aren't as specific as in the proposed agreement from Apex as Banner is suggesting that they be. So those are my concerns at this point. That I think I know Apex is on a on a close date, but this is going to affect Paddington County for quite a while. That I think we need. I need a little more time and be able to talk to everybody.
All right? You
Yes,
heard
Rick,
that.
I mean, what is your
Yeah, that's, I feel that we're rushing. This is, like she said, this is something that's gonna affect us for 30 years down the road. From the time it's built to the time they're taken down, so.
So if I understand, I read through the Banner proposal, and it was, I liked it. So
it's getting it into.
So you have to pick the spots where this goes in the overall agreement, which is pretty lengthy. So just so people understand what you're up against here, so.
Right, and there's some items that are in the Apex agreement, but they're very generic, whereas Banner is suggesting some pretty specific language.
Right.
That hasn't come over, and so it's,
You got to, okay.
yeah. And things are in different spots. I mean, one here, and I got to read it 3 times to find where it is. So.
The only thing that I had a chance, I read it off my iPhone last night, so you know how that goes. The point about bonding, I had a question about that, and I did have a chance to visit with Becky just briefly. If there's a bond involved, Becky is not a bonding person, and we'd have to go outside of the workings here to find a bond. But I guess my gut feeling is, and this is Myron, I'm not speaking for anyone else but me, is that the reason that we have a haul road agreement is so that we don't have to have a bond. Isn't that kind of like the replacement, or?
Well, I would tell you that Apex did put in section 2.7 security, where they are saying that they would put in a surety bond or a letter of credit, which would be based per mile set forth in one of the appendix. So I think that concern is going to be addressed already in the
Yeah,
agreement.
that's what I'm
So
saying. It's already
Yeah.
in the haul road agreement.
They put it in
They
based
put
on
it
the
in.
banner.
Put
Yeah.
it in
Yep.
after.
Yeah. So we're
Which takes care of that part of it, I think.
Right.
Yep. Good. That's what
Yeah,
that's the part that I was
that's in there.
squirming about.
You know, and that, part of that is just how much, because to regrade a mile of road is roughly between $200,000 and $250,000. That's no engineering costs, that's no culverts, that's just to move the dirt. So if something would get destroyed, that's just a rough estimate. Asphalt, the bid that we had this summer to put a 2-inch mat would be roughly $118,000 just to do 1 mile. And that's the 250 to regrade, that's just 1 mile. That's not, if there'd be more than 1 mile or anything, and then there's bridges around there, box culverts, so if you destroyed a bridge, that's just putting it out there that it's $750,000 to $1 million for one bridge, so.
All right. So at this point, so we just don't all get up and walk away and then wonder what's going to happen. Let's have a plan. Becky's shaking her head.
Yeah, and I would say that I can work with the Mark from Apex here in the next week. Hopefully have it ready for next Tuesday. But part of it's going to depend on if we have a jury trial go on Thursday or not.
He's
Type of a thing.
he's
So-
indicating that would be.
Yeah, we're closing on Tuesday. You had this agreement for 2 months. Is there a possible way, as a compromise? It sounds as if there's a small list of punch items you want to take care of, but broadly, the majority of the agreement is in place, correct?
My concern is that the areas involving inspection after construction and restoration after construction, I don't find addressed in this agreement. That's where Paddington County's money is going to be sitting if something happens.
Correct, and that is our full intention to do so. So is it possible? In other counties, for instance, we've had permits out, and there was, ITC, for example. This is not for our project, but for other projects I sat in on. They wanted to have a crossing agreement in place before the county would approve the agreement. Is it possible to give us an approval of the permit conditional upon agreeing to the terms and conditions that Banner outlined within the next 30 days?
Okay.
This way we can actually have the bones of a permit to close with, but you'll have 30 days to clean it up.
Sure. I don't see a problem with that.
Okay, that'll allow you to go ahead.
Contingent upon.
Yeah.
And you would agree with whatever we come up with? So if we come up with a 25 million, so if you got to put a $25 million bond up, you're going to put a bond up, because I don't trust the company.
But
If
but
you
he,
go back-
he explained it,
Yeah.
if it doesn't, then they don't get a permit.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
And
Yeah.
we're remember, this is, Excel's going to be building this project ultimately, and they're going to be hiring, one of the major players like Mortensen or Wanzek or someone like that to actually do the construction, so.
Right, and you're fine and dandy, but you get employees, and employees sometimes don't give a crap about what goes on. And if they destroy a road, they destroy a road. I mean, it doesn't make them any difference. It's, but ultimately, runs downhill.
All companies involved, including Apex and primarily Excel, have a very good reputation and want to keep that in place. So they don't want to do anything to anger the county or the community that they'll be operating in for 30 years.
So Becky, you're comfortable with that?
I'm comfortable with that, because that gives me time to work with their attorney, so we can get the agreement in the right form without being totally rushed on.
That being said,
Yeah.
is there any more questions?
Yes, I have one.
Go.
How does this Banner associate in this agreement come in with the lawsuit that's being filed, or has been filed?
Are you talking about the appeal?
Yeah, the one that was
that?
on my...
This has nothing to do with
No,
that.
I know, but if we do this, if that comes about as a negative, doesn't mean anything anymore, because there won't be
The whole
nothing.
project.
The whole project is dead.
It's two different projects.
Two
The one you're
different
talking,
deals,
yeah,
Two
this
different
is-
projects?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let Luke talk, it's two
Okay.
different.
It's a horse of a different color.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Just asking questions.
Yep.
It's for the taxpayers.
Okay, that being said, is there any more questions? Good question though, Charlie, good question.
How would we word a motion?
How do we word a motion?
Would be my question.
All right, we could accept the Hall Road agreement with the condition that the points that are in question be addressed.
You're gonna need to specify those points. You can't just say
Well, and I think
points.
Becky can give us
Well, we can just
verbiage.
say-
Here's maybe that you guys conditionally approve the permits that they need upon the approval of the road haul agreement.
Yeah, conditional
Yeah.
approval of the permit, providing in the next 30 days
We
they
get the road
come to
haul.
satisfactory.
We have a motion, who wants to attach their name to it?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hatton to attach her name to the motion. Now, Cindy, you gonna read that back?
No, I'm not. I'm gonna pick it up off my recorder when
Okay, all right.
you guys are jumping all over the place here.
Well,
so
I think
it's
we
a
need
little
to
bit hard
clarify
to-
what the motion is.
Yeah,
Somebody
I
needs
really
to
do.
state the motion then.
Because before we vote, I want to be clear on what we're
Okay,
voting on.
just 1 minute, and Becky's writing it out. She's penning it, so as long as it's not shorthand, we're all right. Thank you for doing that, and like I've mentioned before, we need to work with these folks. They need deadlines to meet, and we understand that.
Yeah, I'm excited to have them move in, to see what's gonna happen,
Yeah.
And I'm sure they're A-plus outfit to work with.
I have a lot of neighbors in my neck of the
Okay.
woods that are excited too. All right, we're
Want
going to
me to
actually
read
hear
it?
the motion read. Go ahead.
Okay, my motion will be to conditionally approve a permit for Apex upon the adoption of the road haul agreement within the next 30 days.
Okay.
Does that work?
All right.
So it's approval of the road use agreement.
Yep.
Conditional upon satisfactory form of the agreement in the next 30 days.
Okay, so that, the road use agreement.
Yeah.
Permit. Okay.
Is everybody clear on that now?
Well, I think we need to, Mr. Chairman, I think maybe the motion should be amended to say road use agreement as opposed to permit, because this body doesn't grant
True.
permits.
Okay,
So-
let's have a second on it first. Is there a
Well,
second?
we need to,
Okay,
I think she
I'll
might
amend
want,
it. We're gonna do some discussion.
I think the
Amend-
motion might want to amend the motion.
Amend it to the adoption of the road
Use agreement.
use agreement.
Do we need to amend the motion, or can we just,
If it's the same person doing it.
if the same
Hang on a
person
second.
doing it, can we just go with the motion? Luke is back here.
Yeah.
You're right on, you can either offer a substitute motion or else the person who made the motion can clarify that motion wasn't.
Let's do that.
Okay, so I made the motion, I'll clarify it then.
All right. And Luke is our parliamentarian, by the way. All right, so we have that clarification. Is there a second to the motion?
I will second that.
We have a second by Gable. All right, now we're going to open it up for discussion. Now, Lee, did you have a comment?
Just make sure we're clear on what we're talking, again, this may be related to the wording of the motion again, but, so when we say the road use agreement, that's the same thing as a road haul agreement?
Correct.
Okay, so we're approving a conditional upon, for 30, that
30
you,
days.
yeah, you resolve all the
Correct.
differences and the issues with, between the state's attorney and,
And if they aren't, then they do not
So
receive
then
their
within
permit.
30 days, that will be represented to
So-
this committee?
and then within
To this
30 days, when we say, we're using the word permit and agreement kind of interchangeably here, so.
It doesn't
what-
have to come back before this board, though.
Well,
No,
For final-
we're saying if it's not, if they're not happy.
Oh,
we're
okay.
saying if
Right,
our state
if,
attorney's
yeah,
not happy.
if it's not happy,
Okay.
if you can't
then
agree,
it's-
then it will come back. But
Got
if
it.
Yeah.
if Becky
Right.
uh, works out
Ultimately,
the,
Rick will sign the agreement.
correct, yes.
So.
Charlie?
For my clarification, so if this
Talk in your
doesn't
language.
come back. So if this does not come back to us in 30 days, it automatically goes into effect then? We don't have to vote on it again?
Correct.
Don't agree with that. I would say any changes would have to be voted on by this board.
Well, we know what changes Becky wants to see in the agreement.
But Becky is the state's attorney, not a commissioner. With all respect.
Yeah, well, that's, yeah.
And we can put it on as an agenda item.
And
for you
we
guys
can
to
agenda,
review it
yeah.
And email it out to you guys to review, but ultimately Rick is the one who will be signing it as the highway department.
Sure.
And we can put it on the agenda for 30 days.
And I'm hopeful to have it done sooner than that.
And I would say at this point in time, if it's done sooner and we're ready to go, just notify Cindy and put it on the agenda. Is that all right with the rest of the commissioners? Is that okay?
Yeah.
I don't think we need a vote on that, we just have a consensus that
That's what
hopefully
we're-
it'll be done sooner and we'll get her done. All right, we've had a motion and a second, and we've had some good discussion. Everybody all right? Any more discussion?
Mr. Chairman, can we just read that motion one more time? Just as we, I think it's right in front.
Why don't you hand it to Lee, and he can read it.
So basically what the motion that Commissioner Hanton made that I seconded was to conditionally approve the road use agreement with Apex upon the adoption of the road haul agreement within the next 30
Well,
days.
we use the word permit, but because this board doesn't issue the permits.
Right.
But what they're looking for is conditionally having the permits, that's what they need for closing.
Yeah.
So, that's where it gets confusing.
Okay, so what permit are we talking about here? That's as opposed to a road use agreement, a road haul agreement.
Because the road haul agreement is what,
I forgive my ignorance.
no, it's confusing here. The road haul agreement and, road use, I'm using those interchangeably, because I think at one point it was called a road haul agreement. The permits are what they need to know that are gonna come. Those are conditioned on us adopting this road use or road haul agreement within the next 30 days.
Okay, but we're not approving the
But-
permits themselves. We're approving.
Essentially, what we need is for you to agree that in the next 30, that we'll get a permit if the next 30 days we come to an instrument that is agreeable to the county.
And that's what we've done. And that's what the motion indicates.
Right.
And that's what the motion and the second indicates. Okay?
Okay.
What is the
Where-
specific motion?
Where in this, and I feel it should be put in there, that this is going to, not just going to come back, but I'd like to see it brought right into that this has to be approved by the commission upon.
Well, and that's what it says, is conditionally approve.
But it
Those are
doesn't
the
say by
first
who.
two words. No, I understand, but that was the motion. We have a second. Now, don't we vote on that?
Yeah, but we're
Okay,
still
so
open for
why are we
discussion
going to
here.
email it back out to us for review before we come to a consensus on it? If we take action on it now, doesn't that stand? That's a board decision.
Yeah.
That's
Commissioner
conditional.
Waterman, you can be involved in the process of negotiation in the next 30 days, and if you don't agree with something on it, obviously you can say, I don't want that agreed upon in the next 30 days.
No, I just want, and I would be happy to do that, but I just want to make sure it comes back, this board, it doesn't automatically get through.
And
It
it
has
will.
to come by this board for final approval.
And that's why we're putting it on the agenda at your request,
Thank you.
all right? Okay, any more discussion?
When somebody
So-
contacts me, I will put it on the agenda. All right, okay.
So then I guess I have a question, Mr. Chair. What are we approving?
We're approving the conditional use permit.
No,
No, no, no, no,
the-
no,
sorry.
no,
the
no,
road
no, no,
use.
no, I'm sorry. That back up, I didn't say that. Yeah,
So we're approving,
Luke, can you clarify?
our parliamentarian is going to straighten us out.
I'll talk as zoning officer since I'm here. Luke Muller, zoning officer. I'll just point out, what's going on here is that a condition of approval of the conditional use permit among I believe there's around a dozen conditions. One of them was that they have a haul road agreement. Haul road agreements with the appropriate entities. I'm believing that part of the transaction that they're working on requires that the permit be active, or at least that portion of it be negotiated out.
Right.
Therefore, what he's getting at when we're talking about one person saying that the permit become active, the other one saying the haul road agreement, they're basically meaning the same. Is that once the haul road agreement becomes agreed upon, then that gear locks into place. The same way that there was a condition that the PUC approve it, that gear is now locked into place because they've granted that. So the point is, you're not approving the permit, that's already been approved by the Board of Adjustment as is required by your zoning ordinance. What you're doing here is you're approving a haul road agreement, which it sounds like is conditional upon the review of the state's attorney and the other portions you've talked about. So again, we're talking about a haul road or road use agreement. The terms are used interchangeably. So again, it's not a permit, it's just a road use agreement.
Okay, so before you take off, clarify that motion so that it says what you just said. And that
can I take a step?
Commissioner Hatton approves because she made the motion. Please bear with us.
And Becky, if you could use the term within the next 30 days, so
Yep,
it's
I
not.
had that.
Yeah, perfect.
Had that in there.
Because as we all know, there are people looming out there looking for a misword.
Part of why we're at where we're at is because of the fact, I mean, they did submit this to us earlier this spring, but because of our different departments changing and things like that is why all of a sudden now it's kind of come down to the last minute.
Okay, now Brenda, would you read it? Just,
Conditionally approve the road use agreement upon satisfaction of state's attorney and highway superintendent in the next 30 days.
Okay. All right, so
Yeah, okay.
I will amend the previous motion.
I don't think you need to amend it, do you?
Yeah, sure.
Well, we have
I
a,
just amend your
because he
motion.
made a second. So the new one would be conditionally approve a road use agreement upon satisfaction of the state's attorney and the highway superintendent within the next 30 days. And do we need to say and be brought back to this board or for approval?
And the county commissioners.
Okay. And the county commission board for approval.
All right. Is there a second to the
I'll
amendment?
I'll second that.
A second by Gable. All right, any more discussion? Any more discussion? Any more discussion? Let's vote on the amendment. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Now let's vote on the initial motion. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
When
Mr.
this
Chairman,
one passes,
I
that one
think she-
goes
I
away.
think- I think
No,
she-
that was an amendment. So,
Yeah.
what the chairman's done is correct,
Okay.
is that you amended it.
Yeah.
So what you did, your amendment was basically to overhaul the initial
Yep.
Yeah.
motion. So
But
now
we
you've
have
got to
to-
vote on what you just did, what you just said.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
So all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The original motion is carried as well. All right? Is everybody clear on that now? It's too late if you're not. No, it's, very good. Thank you for bearing with us on this, all right? Appreciate that.
Thank you, Becky.
Yes, thank you
Thanks,
much.
Becky. Thanks, Mark.
Good luck, Mark.
Thank you.
Luke is up here. He's anxious to get his part of the program done and on the road, so let's take Luke. You have a plat for Riefenberger Edition.
What's the agenda?
Excuse me?
Number 7, Doug.
Number 7.
Number 7.
Thank you.
All right, what we have here, thanks again, Luke Muller, zoning officer. What we have here is a plat to be approved. It's plat of Riefenberger Second Edition, Northeast Quarter, Section 27. This is straight north of, it's on 43rd Street, half mile east of the interstate, straight north of the corner where you'd see Lou's Fireworks, and you go straight north about a half a mile. The property we're talking about here, this is really a simple plat. The purpose of this is that 12th Avenue used to be and was platted prior to 1976. It's a non-conforming subdivision. It was platted with a square cul-de-sac, which really seems odd. It was platted with a square cul-de-sac, is what it was, and then what that's done is it's made it difficult as far as setbacks for the two property owners that are on this. So all they're trying to do is make it into more of a standard round bulb style cul-de-sac that matches what the road is. This is taking a little bit to come to you just because for two reasons. One, it's got to go to the city for review since it's as close as it is to the city, and two, because the initial plan was to only handle as you look at it, and for those I've got an extra copy for people that want to look at that. The initial plan only involved that little square where the cul-de-sac used to be, but the recommendation out of the Planning Commission and out of the city was that those lots be combined so that ultimately the area that I'm going to show here in blue winds up being included in the plat as well. And then when you wind up seeing the actual plat itself, I guess I showed it on the plat. The original plat only had the small portion, but now what they've done is they have combined the part that you see on the back side. They've combined the part that says Lot 8A with the surrounding part of the blue. So now it's the whole piece of property.
With their respective.
Exactly. So now it's not, now that individual isn't going to own 3 pieces of property, they're going to own 1.
Right.
Same thing on the south. So
Make a motion to approve.
And I'll second that.
Motion by Van Duzen, a second by Hatton.
the main thing I want to do, there's 2 points I want to make during this discussion. One is that I want to thank the property owners and the engineers for turning around and doing that, because I've had some experiences where they're reluctant to do so, even though this makes life easier for pretty much everyone involved in the future. And then the other thing that is important to note, this is on a 12th Avenue is privately maintained. It's a privately maintained public road, which is a very tricky situation. They wind up having to have a signature of a road authority on that. In this case, it will likely be the township. So I'll be working with the township to verify that they are okay with whatever language is within. If they need a separate document or something filed with that to ensure that they're not now accepting maintenance of something they never had to before. I've actually been talking with the Towns and Townships attorney as well about trying to do something kind of uniform that does that, so that they're not taking on things that they didn't mean to be taking on as a part of the plat. So I just want to make that point that it's not the intent to make them take on something they were never taking on to begin with.
Just a question, quick question, if I may, Lou. Is this in the, I see the creek, Willow Creek running by there. Is this a flood zone area too?
Portions of the property are. Where this is at, no. And actually, that's part of the deal here, is that that square pushes them farther away from that cul-de-sac, which ultimately pushes them back down the hill as they're building things.
Yeah.
So the idea here is that if we can narrow that up, now they can build closer and stay out of the floodplain. The remapping of that has actually made it more
User-friendly.
realistic, I think, with the floodplain, but it's still, just because it's been mapped that way doesn't mean FEMA's acknowledging it yet. So again, we're trying to make life easier for these folks. They're making it easier on themselves, we're trying to help them out.
And in the past, they've taken care of their own snow removal, road maintenance, and upkeep, and so that will continue the same. Nothing changes. All right, we have a motion and a second. This item was passed on to the commission from the Planning and Zoning Board last night with a
Unanimous.
unanimous vote in favor. Any more discussion? Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, the motion carries. Thank you, Luke, appreciate that.
Thanks, Luke.
All right, let's go on then with number 9. Rick Kmeck wants a new building, and that's a budgeted item. And it's in your packet. Go ahead, Rick.
Yes, this building is to replace the old sign shop and storage shed that we have in our north yard. There's a nice moon roof and sunroof on part of the old building that we're going to tear down. And what the plan is to build a sign shop inside this building. It'll be used for storage in our sign department. And that way, when we have to work on signs now, they get brought into our shop. So whatever we're working on gets put on hold. This way they'll have their own place to do it. Because sometimes when you're building barricades or whatever, you've got stuff strewn out all over the floor. And this will alleviate a lot of headache in our shop. So, and we'll have more storage for a little bit of everything, so.
This is a budgeted item?
Yes, it is.
Make a motion to approve.
We have a
Second
motion
that.
by Hatton, a second by Waterman. Any more discussion? Now, this is a notice to
Notice to
bidders, is what
bidders.
this is. Any more discussion? It is a budgeted item, any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
Before Rick leaves, we have one more item to take care of. We need to set a meeting date for a public meeting for the big,
The big
the
plan.
Cottington County 5-year highway plan. And Todd Kay's recommended September 4th or September 18th. Well, I cannot get a publication in time to hold a meeting on the 4th. So does anybody have any objections to holding the public meeting on September 18th?
I think that's, whether we like it or not, that's when we're gonna do it. September 18th, is that okay, Rick?
What time is that?
Calendar?
It'll be during your meeting, so,
Okay.
yeah.
September 18th.
And then the following week, we can take action, or so we can do the following week, so the week of the 25th, we can take action then.
Nope, it'll have to be the second.
Okay.
2 weeks in between.
October
October
2nd.
2nd.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That's good.
This is, Todd's recommendation is no later than October 2nd, so.
Okay, do we have a motion?
We don't need a motion.
All right.
We just need
Consensus, all
to, we
right.
just need to set a date, which we
September
have,
18th
so.
is the date, okay? Thank you,
All right.
Rick.
Thank you.
Now we'll let
Thanks,
you know.
Rick.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you, Cindy, for reminding us. Now, Cindy, it's your turn. General election, action to approve a resolution combining precincts for the 2018 general election. You're gonna make a lot of friends here.
This is something that is required by law for the county commissioners to combine precincts for voting. Due to the fact that we have so many people that vote early, almost 45% of our total votes cast are cast here in the courthouse. My recommendation is to approve the combination of these precincts for voting purposes. Several of these have been combined for a number of years. The new ones right now that I'm proposing, the rest of them, like I said, have been combined before, but for this election, Dexter Township and the Fuller Florence precinct will have the same ballot since there is no commissioner race in the general election. So it makes sense to combine those two elections, those two precincts for the election, so people coming up there to vote will just have one table. And the other one would be Lake Township and Pelican Township also. I've talked to the superintendents of those precincts, and they feel that there is not going to be a problem with combining these precincts for the election, for this election only. And it's because of the fact that there are no county commissioner races and that they have the same legislative district for these precincts.
All right,
Make a
you've heard
motion
the
to
request.
approve that resolution.
We have a motion by Hatton,
Second.
a second by Van Dusen.
And the other thing is, sorry, I didn't want
Go ahead.
to interrupt. Finding election workers is getting harder and harder. There are people that just have worked for a long time and would like to step down from the position, and there aren't too many people that are stepping up and coming in and saying, yes, we would like to work, so.
Is that number 11? Is that number 11?
Number 10.
No,
Yeah, 10. 10.
We have a
10.
motion and a second
Yep.
on item number 10.
So I have a clarity item, Cindy. So in Fuller Township, you want to take and bring the people from Wallace over to Florence?
Nope.
You
Fuller,
want-
Florence always vote at Florence. It's Eden, Phipps, and Wallace that are in Wallace, and I'm leaving that one alone.
You're leaving that one alone?
Yep, Eden,
And where do
Phipps,
the people in Henry vote?
People in Henry vote in Henry.
Okay.
It's, and those combinations have been in place forever. It's Henry Township, the town of Henry, and Graceland Township all vote in Henry. And then Eden Township, Phipps Township, and the town of Wallace always vote in Wallace. Dexter and Florence always vote in Florence, so instead of having 2 tables there, I'm just going to have 1. So nobody's being moved to a different location.
Okay, we're not moving them into the extension center?
Nope, we are not. Not
Okay.
at this time.
Are there any particular precincts that really are in need of workers, that we as commissioners or whomever can, get out and talk to people, asking if they'd be interested? Because I have some neighbors.
I will tell you, Germantown and Rawville, I have very few
Okay.
people volunteering out there. And just some of the precincts in town, also, it's hard to find the appropriate people to sit on. You've got to be able to sit there for over 12 hours.
Yep.
And you have to be able to deal with the public.
Do you have to be from that township to work in that township?
You're supposed to be, if I can't find anybody, I am allowed by law to go outside the township to appoint someone else. But first, I am supposed to look within the township, yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Just curiosity on my
Yeah.
part, thanks.
Yep.
All right. Well, that's good, because these are in my backyard, and I'll talk to some of the neighbors and see if we can get some help. That's what I want to do. We have a motion and a second on the floor.
Second?
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Motion by Hanton, a second by Van Dusen.
Right.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. All right. Then, number 11 is a part-time, and the only thing I would ask there is probably the wages. If someone's going to say, what does it pay? Remind me.
It's going to be midway through our payroll for a clerk position, so I would have to look back to see what I paid 2 years ago. I don't have a number right now since
Okay.
Depends on, if I get somebody with experience, I can pay them more, just depending on who applies for the job.
All right.
And it will be a personnel change that is brought forward. I'm going to say it'll be anywhere from $12 to $15 an hour.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
And it will just be part-time, and I'd like the opportunity to have 1, possibly 2 people. And hours will be limited to, what we need for counter.
During your low
And these people can come from anywhere.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, in Cudahy County, I should say.
Yes.
Anywhere in Cudahy County.
Who
All
is
right,
that?
we have a motion and a second.
Who made the second?
Lee.
Gable.
Okay.
Any discussion? Do you have a question?
Just an added, kind of a side note. Is this something we dump on Facebook? And I know it's not the official county newspaper.
There's nothing to prevent us from doing that, you're right. Yeah.
So if we decided, or if I decided to put it out there on Facebook, there would be no objection.
Nope, contact the county auditor's office, correct.
All right, any more discussion? Anything else? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same side. Motion carries. Let's go on then to 12, budget requests. They continue to be the same, correct?
We've reviewed everything, yep. We are just waiting for our public meetings that will take place in September.
Number 13, action to approve courthouse remodel project change orders. Do we have any this week?
I have not received any.
All right, number 14, claims.
We have 3 claims. These are our Visa bills that we pay at the odd time of the month to avoid late fees. First one is the Sheriff's Office. It's a Reliabank Visa, $757.96. And that is mainly for travel expenses and a few minor supplies, but most of it is for gas. We did have one of our part-time deputies that had to drive to, I believe it was Ohio, to pick up somebody on a warrant.
Wow.
So that's what the majority of the cost is on this one. The second one is also to Visa Reliabank. $397.16, $185.10 of that is for the auditor's office, so it's for the purchase of personnel file folders that we are required to keep on each employee, and $212.06 would be for the deposit for the welfare director's hotel room for the NACO conference. Unless that's, I'm gonna have to verify that was that your deposit, Brenda, or was that Sarah's? I'm gonna have to check on that.
Yeah, it might
It was
have
for
been
travel
mine.
anyway.
But the amount is right, correct. And then the third one is search and rescue, $769.78, and that's also Visa Reliabank. And that is for numerous supplies and travel for the search and rescue team.
All right, you
Move
heard
to
the request.
approve.
Motion by Van Duzen, second by Gable. Any discussion?
Just a quick question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
So what was the cost for the trip to Ohio on the warrant? Was that just?
And to pick up
Yeah, right. No, I understand what the cost was, just curious.
Well, there were
Cheaper to fly
hotel
back?
charges,
Yeah.
hotel and gas charges mainly.
It's a travel claim.
$757.96.
Had to be a felony.
But 266 of that was for supplies also. So you can take that amount off the total amount of the bill. But the rest of that, to me, it looks like on this statement was for travel to Ohio.
Yeah.
To
Any
pick up
questions?
someone on a warrant.
Any other questions? Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Let's go on then to number 15. Automatic budget supplements. Do we have any that?
None today.
All right, let's go on to 16. Approval of personnel changes. And we do have one for
Just
sure.
one. Yep, just one.
Yep.
Betty Overly in the treasurer's office is due her anniversary step increase to step 12, $19.45 an hour.
You've heard it?
Move to approve.
Motion by, who was it? Waterman, second by Gable.
It was Gable and I, so.
How in the world did we get all that in here at one time? So what did we end up with? A motion by who?
Gable.
Gable.
Gable, second by
Hanton.
Hatton. Any discussion? Sorry. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All same sign. Travel requests, we have a couple of those today.
Two of those, both for the Weed and Pest Supervisor. The first one is to attend the 2018 State Weed Commission meeting and tour, which he referred to in his monthly report. And the second one he also referred to as working the State Fair weed booth in Huron.
You
Move
heard
to
that?
approve.
A motion by Hatton, second by
Second.
Gable. We got her this time.
Yeah.
Any discussion? Any discussion? And I would encourage you, if you do get the state fair, stop in at the ag building where the weed booth is at, and that's always an educational opportunity. I guess it's for me anyway, because I'm an old weed guy. Seeing any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Mature business, any old business?
Just, Mr. Chairman, a couple things. When we had the CCJAC meeting last Tuesday, so the main thing that came out of that, you might have seen it in the paper, is that just a basic recommendation that we budget for pre-design services. So basically asking an architect to act as consultant in case we want to work on the jail over the course of 2019 and work on that issue. Then I also attended a JDAI event in New Mexico. That was something that, so the Unified Judicial System is encouraging counties to take part in the Juvenile Detention Alternative Initiative. So they paid for this trip to New Mexico, and we saw many alternatives. So it's Albuquerque, New Mexico. The name of the county is Benalillo County. And we saw a lot of people that were directing different kinds of alternatives, both before the adjudication process for juvenile offenders and after. So very eye-opening stuff. I'll try to prepare something a bit more, maybe a few slides, so just to summarize a little bit better. But that was a really good trip. A lot of folks from Davidson County there, one person from Brown County, Minnehaha, and so there were 4 counties represented there. And from Cottington County, we also had the assistant school principal, Troy Taranas, and Kelly Rumsup from Watertown Healthy Youth. There was a Judge Means was going to attend as well, but there was a glitch with her travel ticket. Wasn't her fault. It was a travel agent thing. So, but it was a good visit. So,
What for this jail study, how much money were you talking about?
Yeah, let me tell you, I can tell you what the pre-design bill was 23 something thousand for that led up to the proposal before in the last vote. So, but they can vary a lot. So we need to talk about that. Let me study that one. So we talked about that during the CCJAC meeting a little bit, and we didn't really come up with a figure, just a basic recommendation that we need to make sure that we think about that in the budget. So
right now there isn't a figure.
No, I don't have a figure.
All right, any other old business? Seeing none, how about new business? Have anything new?
Mr. Chairman, just a couple things happening today. One is at noon today we have a JDA meeting taking place at noon, and then right after that we have a Stepping Up or a Behavioral Health and Justice Working Group meeting. The JDAI meeting is going to be basically a summary of what's going on with the current assessment. So right now the folks from the JDAI consultant from the state, Annie Brokenleg, and 2 consultants from the national level for the JDAI organization are here doing interviews. So like Commissioner Van Dusen and I got an interview because we both sit on that committee, interviewing folks from the community that are involved with the juvenile detention alternatives, the sheriff's office, jail. So it's trying to establish a baseline about what the community is doing as far as juvenile detention alternatives, and then give us an idea of what we need to do next. So just so people know, this doesn't really cost anything for the county, but it's one of those community discussion efforts similar to what Commissioner Hanton's starting with the reentry ideas and thoughts. So kind of an effort to coordinate what the community does for juvenile detention. And then on the Stepping Up side or the behavioral health side, that meeting is going to be pretty much a presentation by the Open Lattice folks. So it's going to reach a little bit beyond, more about data tracking. It's going to reach a little bit beyond just the mental health issues, but data tracking in general. So it was an opportunity based upon Commissioner Hanton's and the sheriffs, and I think Matt went down a few weeks ago to talk to the folks in Minnehaha County. Then I contacted one of the folks down there. So that's going to be today if anybody's interested and wants to just see. We'll probably just do it on screen, just a presentation from them to see if we can, as Cottington County, take part in that. So
That meeting will be held where?
in here, yeah, both meetings are in here.
At 1 o'clock.
JDAI.
JDAI is at noon, then the mental health one is at 1. So back to back.
All right.
Yeah.
How about the open? Anything for the open?
Well, as Lee mentioned, those 2 meetings, there could be a quorum of commissioners. The walkthrough on Friday morning at 11, clerk of court's office.
Yeah.
Could be
I think you mentioned that. Yeah.
could be a quorum of commissioners at that event. And Monday, Boys and Girls Club, they're having their tours. There could be a quorum of commissioners at that. And then the weed meeting, as Steve mentioned, at 6:30, there could be a quorum of commissioners at that event as well. And that's all I have in my planner as far as quorums. If anyone else has anything.
Anything else for the open? I did get an email from Sarah. She does plan on being back to work on Thursday.
Okay.
So I think that is the 27th.
Yeah.
This
What's
Thursday is
supposed to be-
23rd, which would be a month.
23rd.
Yep, from the time she gave us, yeah.
She did indicate that the doctor has recommended that she does have a continual appointment in Sioux Falls on Fridays for about a month. So, just to give you a heads up. Okay, anything else for the open? Anything else? All right, we do have a request by HR for discussion in reference to the unions, so that would be under
Number 4. I'll
Number
make a
4.
motion that we go into exec under number 4.
Number 4.
I'll
and,
second.
We have a motion by Hatton to move into executive session and a second by Van Duzen. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are in executive session, and I do not think there will be any business to conduct after the exec session.